What's going on, guys? Matt from TradeWithTraders. Hope you guys had a great day today. Tonight is episode 2 of trading advice to my younger self. And tonight I want to talk about something that affects a lot of new traders. And I know I definitely went through it for at least my first year, but probably even longer. And I'm talking about, as you see in the title, I'm talking about bag holding. It's a subject that just about anybody who's ever been involved with trading or the stock market or crypto, or if you've had any kind of prolonged involvement of actively seeking trading as a career, you've probably bag held something at one point or another. So it's affected us all. But what separates the pros from the amateurs is that the guys that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 plus years, they're not holding on to these bags. They're not averaging down on losers. They're not sitting and hoping and praying for their red position to just go green. What the pros have done is, through trial and error and through slowly working on their strategy, they've come up with a system that more oftentimes than not involves an emotionless detachment from these red and losing numbers and the psychology of red. That's a whole nother topic. But what newer traders do, what amateurs do when it comes to losing positions and red positions, and I'll walk you through the psychology of it because I was there once. And not only was I there once, but I still hear about it all the time from newer traders. I'll get messages about something like, hey Matt, I bought this thing, whatever, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it is, and it's down. What should I do? And my response is always pretty much the same. I even have personal friends of mine who have done this to me too. My response is always the same. And this is the exact response, or this is the exact piece of advice that I would give to my younger self. And it's that whatever red position you have is a bag. It's a bag. You're holding a bag. And that bag, more than likely, is just going to keep depreciating. You're not going to just wake up one day and your hope and your will and your prayers are just all of a sudden answered and the position's just green again and you're just good to go and you're off to buy your Lamborghini and your lakeside mansion. That's not how it works. The advice I would tell my younger self, the same advice that I tell newer traders when they ask me this question, what should I do? It's simple. And it's not necessarily what you want to hear, but it's simple. And it has to do, again, with that emotional detachment, not having any emotions to it. You cut it. You take the loss, you take the red, you eat it, and you move on. And you don't second guess yourself. You clear the slate. You wipe the slate clean. Start fresh. I had a friend, one of my buddies from college, actually. He visited me back in February, and he showed me his portfolio. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. But he showed me his portfolio, and it had about, and I'm not exaggerating, it had probably, I'm going to guess 50 positions, maybe more. It could have been as many as like 70. The point I'm making is that he had a crap ton of positions in his portfolio. And it's not like he had a particularly large account. And since I'm not saying names, I guess I could say the account size. His account size was like in the range of like maybe $10,000 or $8,000, something like that. $8,000 or $10,000 spread across 50 to 60 or 70 stocks, you imagine about how much money was in each one. Not a lot, right? The worst part about it, the thing that stressed me out the most, was that just about every single position was a losing trade. And he comes to me and he gives me the question, Matt, what do I do with these? Are these going to bounce back? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Should I hold them? I was like, bro, if you want my advice, give me your phone. I'm going to sell every single bag that you're holding and we're going to start fresh. And when I said that to him, his face just got like pale white. And he was just like, oh, geez, like that wasn't the answer that I was looking for. And I know it's not the answer that you're looking for. It's not the answer anyone's looking for, because the human brain, the way we're innately programmed is that we're not wrong, right? We're not gonna admit defeat on these bags that we're holding. That's crazy, right? But the advice that I would give my younger self, just the same way that I gave to my buddy with his red portfolio, his deep red portfolio, is just cut it. Just get rid of it all and start over. There's no ego when it comes to trading. There's no secret prayer that you pray that all of a sudden your bags are just free and you're back to square one. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. So it's easy, and I know it's easier said than done. It's not easy to take a loss as a newer trader anyways. If you've been trading, 3, 5, 10 years, it might be a little easier to just say, yeah, just take the loss and move on. And I get that, because I can't even tell you how many times at this point in my career when I've just had a loser, and I just take the trade. I just sell for a loss and I move on. There's literally zero emotional attachment to it, ever. But I spent my first probably at least year, but probably the better part of 2 years, spreading myself thin with about $3,000 or $5,000 worth of capital. And I essentially would get myself stuck in this crap and just kind of hold on to it, wishing and praying and refreshing Twitter and refreshing Investors Hub and refreshing Stock Twits, waiting for that big press release to drop by the CEO or whatever. Guys, that stuff never comes. I hate to break it to you, but that big press release that everybody's talking about on Twitter, that everybody's anticipating, it's either never going to come, or when it does come, your bag's just going to sell off even more. So my advice to you, my advice to my younger self, take the loss. Move on. There's always a better opportunity. And if you're like my friend and you're stuck in a million things and you have no capital to work with, how are you ever going to advance or mature as a trader? Right? Think about it from that perspective. If every dollar that you have is in losing positions, how are you going to advance? Take your losses, move on. And I guess another story that I just thought of now too was actually literally just the other day when I was talking to one of my friends again, and he was telling me how a couple months ago when crypto sold off, because he had made a couple bucks here and there during the crypto bull run of the winter and the spring, and then market sells off, crypto market sells off back in, I want to say it was May or June, whenever it was. And he says to me, yeah, I didn't sell anything as it was going red. I just kind of held it on the way down. And then once it got cheaper, I bought more. And it was the same thing that my other friend did. He kind of looked at me and he was kind of like, what should I do? And of course I told him the response that I've now told you guys, which is sell, move on, and start fresh. And eventually both of these friends were more receiving of that advice, but it's definitely hard to hear at first. Just like I'm sure some of you right now are listening to this and you're thinking, Oh, Matt, that's the last thing I'm gonna do, buddy. I'm not taking a loss. This thing's gonna go to the moon. Okay, if that's the mentality that you've adopted and you are stubborn and I can't change your mind. So, but anyways, the second story that I was going for, the analogy that I used for this friend was, why would you want to go down with a sinking ship, right? If you're on a boat and it's sinking and it's underwater, half of it's underwater and it's starting to go underwater, why would you stay on the boat, right? It's like, it's the easiest analogy metaphor that I can come up with. Why would you stay on a sinking ship? Abandoned ship, right? Wouldn't you rather sell for a small loss rather than a big loss? Wouldn't you rather take a small loss and then reevaluate once the dust settles a little bit? That's the mentality I've adopted, and it's worked pretty decently for me. So again, another thing I would tell my younger self, if it's red, don't think about averaging down. Instead of the averaging down mentality, instead of, oh, it's cheaper now, or yeah, the press release is coming, whatever. No. Stop it. No. That press release is never coming. That news that you read on Twitter, that, sorry, there's a fly on my hand, that everybody's talking about, the guy with all the followers on Twitter, and he's telling you that the big news is going to come out. No. Ditch it. Move on. It's never coming. And the only thing you're going to do to yourself is cause more heartache, more pain. And like I said a few minutes ago, you're not going to advance. You're just stuck holding this bag, and it's just this perpetual downward spiral of negative thoughts and emotions. And ditch it, move on. So that's it. That's pretty much the video. I can sum it up any kind of way or say it any kind of way, but really the take-home message here, the piece of advice that I would give my younger self, because shoot, if I would have learned this within my first few months, I would have saved myself a big time heartache, because I had to swallow like a $10,000 loss within my first like 6 months trading. Think about how that felt. I turned like $4,000 into $12,000 and then lost 10,000 of it because I just held the whole way down. So if I could go back in time, what a difference that $12,000 would have made. Or even if, let's say, it went from 12,000 to 10,000. Instead of letting that 10,000 go all the way down to 2,000, I had sold for a loss at 10,000. I guess not a loss because I was still in the green, but you get what I'm saying. I just wonder how different that trajectory of my career would have been. So if you're 3 months in or 6 months in or even a year in, and this video spoke to you, if this was relevant to something that your trading entails, then take it to heart, consider it, and yeah, that's it. That's the video.